go over the royalty statements, and we find ourselves now doing more work. She's working in the office. She pays the bills. I answer the fan mail personally with very brief answers to if they require an answer. If they don't require an answer, I don't answer them because, gosh, you know, you've got so many hours in a day, and if you answered every letter that came and everybody that writes to you, it takes time. So yes, it's true. I am not spending as much time with the family as I would like to, and I keep vowing that I'm going to stop this, but I don't know. It's hard to stop because, well, like this, what we're doing today. I have two very dear friends at a radio station, Rias in Germany. They asked me if I would come over for this gala evening, and you know, it's 5,000 miles to come, and I don't do it for the money. I don't need money anymore. I do it for two reasons: because they are good friends of mine. They've done a lot for me. The gentleman head of Rias, Rudy Piska, is a Ray Conniff fan, just like the fan club, you know. And when he asks me if I'll come and do something, I don't ask him how much money he's going to pay me. I say, when is the date, you know. And so things like, and the longer you're in this business, more things like that start happening. You don't just go out and do a concert tour because you want to go to Brazil to sell albums, because I don't, Brazil now have such economic problems that I hardly get any money from Brazil from the record sales anymore. By the time it goes through the exchange rate from cruceros to dollars, and they leave it in the bank in cruceros for a year and a half. They earn the interest before they send it to me. I don't, you know, and 100% inflation, I don't know if it's a month or when it is. It's terrible. But anyway, I go because I'm a very dear friend of the promoter, Manuel Palladian, who and he does a wonderful job of promoting my tours. He fills all the auditoriums. The people love it when I go there. They love the music, and they're really going because they love what I'm doing. So it's really hard to cut down. You get sort of trapped, and I would. What do we try to do? We try to arrange the tours so that Vern Tamara can come with me. What we try to do when a promoter calls, I say, well, can you do it around Easter or around Thanksgiving or around, you know, 4th of July, or when we have like a week holiday in the United States, so at least the family can be with me for that period of time. But I'll tell you, where we kind of make up for it, though, is we have a large motorhome. It's a 28-foot motorhome, which in German terms would be what? 3 into 28 is what? 8? No, 9. 9 meters. About 9 meters. And, you know, it has a bathroom. It has, we have bunk beds, upper and lower. Vera sleeps in the lower bunk and Tamara in the upper bunk. Has a kitchen, a stove, microwave oven, bath, little bathtub. If I take a bath in it, I'm like this, but Vera does pretty well. I take a shower, and we could sleep in a pinch. If you wanted to come along, we'd sleep 2 in the bunk beds. Then there's a bed over the driver that comes down. That's 2, 3. Then there has a sofa that opens up to 2, so that's 4, 5. And then the dinette can make into a bunk, so that could sleep 2 kids if had to be. So that'd be 7. We could, in a pinch, we could sleep. But anyway, we go with the 3 of us and 3 dogs. We have 2 French poodles and a Labrador. And so that's where we have the family fun, in the motorhome. And we just completed a long, about a month trip in that. From when they came back from Switzerland, we went from Boston to California in the motorhome. So that's when we have our best family times in the motorhome. And as I say, hopefully they can come on the tours.
You answered most of my questions so far, and actually this can be the official end of the interview. I would like to come back to one more item. This question concerns the old bodies you happen to get to know in the big band era. like Billy Butterfield and John Best and so on. Do you still meet them? Are you still in touch with the buddies you happen to get to know in the big band era?
Not too many of them. A few of them. And you know, when I say I'm in touch, I don't mean that, you know, we talk every other day. I went to a 50th sort of reunion thing of the Bob Crosby band last year. Gus Pavono, who played lead alto in the Bunny Bergen band, I talk with him occasionally when one of the lead alto or clarinet men that normally go with me can't go. I usually check with him. He never has been able to go yet. Talked to Georgie All, tenor saxophone player, last time about a year ago. Billy Butterfield, I talked to, it's funny you would ask, just about a week ago, because I think Billy is one of the greatest trumpet players we have ever had. And so I have hopes that I might be able to do another album with him sometime before they put us 8 feet under. But I don't know if it'll ever materialize because, like I say, the record companies aren't my, well, you know, they don't do albums like that just because it'd be a great thing to do and maybe I'd only sell, 20,000 albums. I don't know what we would sell, Billy and I. But it would be a terrific thing to do another album with Billy, just for the record. Let's see. Well, we had, I'm trying to think of things that happened. A lot of funny things happened in those days. Well, Billy, for instance, you know, there were a lot of sad things too. Many of us drank too much, I'll have to tell you that. Drugs weren't too prevalent in the days I was with the bands. As a matter of fact, I learned with quite a bit of surprise at one point, it was quite a few years back, that a drummer in Artie Shaw band was on heroin. And, you know, to me, he was just a normal guy to me, nice guy, really, really very nice guy. And one day I read in the paper he got busted for having heroin. So it wasn't prevalent, and if anybody was using it, you know, it was quite a secret because it was really taboo, even in the music business, you know. At least the bands I worked with, I didn't work with all the bands, but I worked with Bunny, I worked with Artie Shaw. Marijuana was prevalent and was spoken about and used. I would say probably, I don't know, maybe 50% of the guys in each band would use it on occasion, you know, but it wasn't something that was taken tremendously seriously, you know, to the point where it led into other things that caused real problems where they were hooked on chemicals and couldn't recover. But as I say, there were, you know, sad things about those days. There was one thing you have to remember about the bands, and I suppose it's that way in today's entertainment scene. There was a lot of boredom. You have to, in those days, we used to do mostly one-nighters, one-night stands, you know, and the jumps were far apart, and and the transportation was by bus, and it was complete boredom for many, many hours a day in the bus. So many of the fellas, including me, took to drinking to pass the time. Someone would have a bottle and pass it, and so. But anyway, I preface this story with the funny side of the things were that some of the things that happened. Billy Butterfield made me think of it. As a matter of fact, if any of you have the album Conniff Meets Butterfield, it's a pose with us on the front cover of the album, and we're both doubled up in laughing, and the guy snapped the picture when we were breaking up with it, and what had happened was he reminded me of this story, and we both broke up at the end of the story. We were playing the Hartford Theater, Hartford being in Connecticut in the United States, New Year's Eve. And of course, a New Year's Eve show would start just before midnight sometimes so that you'd see the New Year in during the show. Well, this was kind of a drinking band, the Bob Crosby band, so you can imagine the condition everybody was in at midnight on New Year's Eve. The band was really pretty stoned. So after the show, which would be like 1 o'clock in the morning, we went up to the dressing rooms, and this is typical of the type of thing that would happen. So we had a habit in those days in the bands. Everybody had a nickname. I was we'd have several nicknames. They used to call me Conrad, Needle Nose. My nose was much more pointed. Ski Jump. They used to call me Ski Jump, Needle Nose. But we had a guy, first saxophone player. His name was Godai. I don't know where he got the name Godai. I think it was something about we had some New Orleans guys in the band. Irving Fazzola was from New Orleans, Eddie Miller. And the New Orleans clique, they had names for different kind. I think gin was Godai or something. So he evidently drank gin or Godai, so he got the name Godai. Anyway, Godai was so loaded that he couldn't stand up. He couldn't sit down. And so we're up in the dressing room after the show. We'd seat him in a chair, and he keeps slithering down the chair falling onto the floor. So Billy got the idea, said, hey, look, it was wintertime. We all had overcoats. So Billy got the idea of taking Godai, and we lifted him up, and we put his overcoat on and wrapped and buttoned his overcoat down and put a coat hanger in his back in his collar, and we hung him. In those days, the dressing rooms had all these lights around the mirrors, and then on one wall would be all hooks to hang things. So we hung him on a hook on the wall. And we continued to drink after the show while they were packing the instruments away, and we got our instruments packed away, and we ran out of booze. So somebody in the next dressing room, Eddie Miller, hollered in, we still got some old granddad in here. So we all went in to the other room, and we started drinking from Eddie Miller's bottle. Well, make a long story short, the bus, everything was packed, and we got down on the bus, and we took off. And by now it's about 2:30 in the morning, and we got about 50 miles out of town, and Billy says to me, we were sitting together, Billy says, hey, where's Godai? And we looked back, and Godai's seat was empty. And when we were all so loaded, we forgot about him. We left him back in the dressing room hanging on the hook. And so we thought, my God, we got to go back and get him. So we turned around. So we got back in Hartford, not 50 miles back, at about 4 in the morning. And of course, the theater's closed up. So we went to the police station and told them what happened. So we were all up all night going back to get Godai. And when we got up in the dressing room to take him, he was hanging on the hook, having a beautiful snooze. He was just sleeping, hanging on the hook with the coat hanger. That was the kind of stuff that used to happen all the time. Boy, I don't think I can sit here for 3 hours in these lights. Oh, okay. Oh, that's different. That's like the story about the guy who wanted to sell another fella an elephant for $50. And he says, no, I can't. He said, I don't want to buy an elephant. He said, the fella said, look, everybody should have this is a real live elephant. He said, look, I haven't got room for a sand pile in the backyard for my child, let alone an elephant. And the other fellow says, how about 3 for $100? He says, now you're talking.
I like that.